don't know how you found me, but you shouldn't be here.
I need your permission to operate independently.
Permission granted!
Thank you. You now have full control again, Gray.
Gray is a regular mechanic who works on old cars. His wife, Asha, has a job at a big tech company. One day, while Gray is busy fixing a classic car for one of his usual clients, he realizes it needs to be returned the same day. He asks Asha to come along, and they decide that she'll drive back in her self-driving electric car while Gray follows behind in the restored one. When they arrive, Gray introduces Asha to the man who owns the car. His name is Aaron. Asha looks stunned. She turns to Gray, surprised that he didn't mention they were coming to see Aaron.
You're Aaron Keene. You own Vessel Computers. Oh my god.
It turns out Aaron has been one of Gray's longtime clients, but there's something odd about him. He seems unsure of how to even greet them. That's probably because he rarely leaves his massive house, spending nearly all his time building high-tech inventions. Inside, Aaron proudly shows them his latest creation, a tiny AI chip. With a strange sense of excitement, he explains that the chip is powerful enough to control a person's body, capable of doing absolutely anything. After the visit, Gray and Asha head home in her electric car, but on the way, something goes wrong. The car suddenly veers off its route. Gray notices it first, and Asha quickly commands the car to return home, but the system responds that the command cannot be followed.
I'm sorry, there has been an error.
Gray tries to stop it manually, slamming the brakes, but the car doesn't slow down. Instead, it accelerates. No matter what they do, nothing works. Then, without warning, the car hits a bump hard and flips. They survive the crash, shaken but alive. As they try to get out, another vehicle pulls up beside them. 4 men step out and drag them from the wreck. A police drone hovers nearby, scanning their faces, but fails to identify them. Gray, panicking, pleads for the attackers to take their money and leave them alone, but his begging is ignored. One of the men raises a gun and shoots Asha. Another grabs Gray and fires at his neck, shattering his spine. Asha lies on the ground, writhing in pain. Gray tries to move, but his body doesn't respond. He's completely paralyzed. Helpless, he watches as his wife takes her final breath right in front of him. 3 months pass. Gray stays in the hospital the entire time, recovering from the attack. When he finally returns home, he's in a wheelchair, completely paralyzed from the neck down. He can't do anything on his own, so the house is now filled with smart machines that help him eat, move, and perform basic tasks. His mother, Pamela, moves in to take care of him, but Gray hates being dependent on her. It makes him feel even more helpless. One day, while Pamela is visiting him, a detective stops by. Gray asks if the men who killed Asha have been found. He's told the investigation is still ongoing and that they'll be found soon. But Gray has heard that line far too many times. He doesn't believe it anymore. The truth is, he's lost all hope. Life like this isn't something he wants. One night, he uses one of his machines to overdose on his medication. He ends up back in the hospital. That's when Aaron pays him a visit. Gray is reminded of the AI chip he was once shown. The possibility is raised. If the chip is implanted, Gray will be able to walk again, to be strong. But Gray refuses. Quietly, he says that he no longer wants to live like this. Then a different question is asked. What would Asha have wanted for him? Gray pauses. That one stings. After a long moment of silence, he agrees. But what Gray doesn't know is that Aaron has his own reasons. This offer isn't about kindness. As a scientist, Aaron has been working on this chip. He just needs one real subject, and now he has one, Gray. The surgery is done in secret, right inside Aaron's home. STEM is inserted directly into Gray's spine. After the operation, Gray is placed under observation while doctors run checks. They gently move his hands and feet, but there's no response. It seems the chip might not be working. Aaron is told to wait, but just as that's being said, Gray's fingers twitch. Then his hand moves. A moment later, he stands up. Everyone in the room is left stunned. The experiment is a success, but to keep it hidden, Gray is made to sign a document. He has to pretend he's still paralyzed. If the truth gets out, the chip will be confiscated, and Aaron will be arrested. Gray agrees. Back home, Gray receives a package from the detective. Inside is Asha's autopsy report, along with some case files. While looking through it, he suddenly hears a voice. A question is whispered.
May I point something out?
He looks around, startled, but no one is there. Then the voice explains. It's coming from the AI chip inside him. It explains that it can help him find Asha's killers. Since it's connected to his brain and senses, everything Gray sees can be seen by it too. Together, they pull up footage of the attack. The chip zooms in and points out a tattoo on one of the men. At first, it's hard to see, but the image is enhanced and revealed clearly. With just that one detail, one of the attackers is identified. Gray is stunned. In just minutes, the chip has accomplished what the police haven't been able to in months. Gray thinks about informing the authorities, but STEM reminds him, if he does, the entire experiment will be exposed. Still, Gray wants answers. He decides to go find the man himself. When he reaches the suspect's home, police drones are hovering nearby, so Gray stays in his wheelchair to avoid suspicion. Once the drones fly off, he slips inside. He moves through the place quietly, looking for clues. He finds a few messages someone had been sending to the killer, but for now, he ignores them. He's looking for something that'll lead him to the rest of the group. Then, the front door creaks open. The killer returns. The man immediately notices things out of place. He spots Gray and grabs him, demanding to know how he was found. Gray doesn't answer the question. Instead, he demands the name of the person who killed his wife. The man shoves Gray down and easily overpowers him. That's when the chip speaks again, asking for control. Gray agrees. In an instant, he strikes back. His movements are sharp and precise, like a trained fighter. The man is slammed to the ground. Gray tries to restrain him and hand him over, but the man pulls out a knife and lunges. STEM takes full control and kills him. Gray stands over the body, frozen. Killing him hadn't been the goal. A moment later, control is handed back to him. The chip's voice returns. Everything has been logged. The scene must now be cleaned. All evidence needs to be erased. Quickly. Still in shock, Gray follows the instructions, wiping away every trace of what just happened. In the next scene, the detective examines the body. The autopsy reveals something strange. Tiny wires embedded inside the man's skin. He wasn't just human. He had been enhanced, stronger, faster, artificially upgraded. Meanwhile, Aaron is furious. He confronts Gray and demands to know why the man was killed. He calls it reckless, insisting STEM wasn't given to be used this way. His voice turns cold as he warns Gray, if anything like this happens again, the chip will be pulled out. At the same time, the detective keeps digging. Surveillance tracks someone near the area right before the killer died, and that someone is Gray. Later, she shows up at Gray's garage. She tells him he was seen near the crime scene. The man who died had a long criminal record and lived right by the spot where Asha was murdered. And now, he's dead. Just yesterday. Gray keeps a straight face. He claims not to know anything and reminds her he can't even walk. If she wants, she's free to stab his leg and find out. The detective lets out a faint laugh, nods once, and leaves. As soon as she's gone, Gray exhales and relaxes. Then he speaks to STEM, asking what they should do next. The next step is already ready. STEM has found an address in the dead man's messages. It's a bar, but there's a warning. Aaron will likely try to track this and shut STEM down. If that happens, Gray will be paralyzed again. Gray doesn't waste a second. He heads straight to the bar. Once inside, he calls out to the room, offering a reward to anyone who knows the man who recently died. Someone responds. A man lunges at Gray, drags him into a side room, and knocks him to the ground. As Gray lies on the floor, he looks up and asks if the man was part of the group that killed his wife. The man smirks and admits that he was. Gray gives STEM permission to take control. In an instant, a brutal counterattack is launched. The man starts begging for mercy. Gray demands his name.
Who paid you?
But the man refuses. STEM continues. The man screams in pain until he finally gives in. Through gasps, he reveals the name, Fisk. A man named Fisk paid them. Before any more questions can be asked, the man dies. Suddenly, STEM warns that Aaron is trying to shut it down. There's no time to waste. Only a hacker can break Aaron's control. STEM gives Gray a code, a new input sequence. Gray quickly scribbles it down on his arm. He sets off toward the hacker's hideout, but along the way, STEM starts failing. 30% shut down. Gray's leg stops working. He drags himself forward, then 60%. His arm gives out too. Just as he reaches the hacker's front door, the shutdown hits 100%. Gray collapses, completely paralyzed. At the same time, Aaron sends 2 men to retrieve Gray, but he isn't the only one looking. Over at a nearby bar, Fisk, the one who ordered Asha's murder, is fuming. His partner, the one Gray killed, had a hidden eye camera that revealed Gray's location. The bar owner tries to stay out of it, but Fisk doesn't tolerate failure. The man is blamed for botching the job and is shot dead on the spot. Now, Fisk and his new partner have Gray's exact location. They race there immediately. Back at the hacker's place, the front door creaks open. She spots Gray lying helpless just outside and quickly drags him in. Gray hands over the cash, then shows her the code scrawled on his arm. She gets to work right away. As her fingers fly over the keyboard, she catches sight of them. Fisk and his partner closing in fast. Right behind them, 2 of Aaron's armed men arrive, but Fisk doesn't stop to talk. He guns them both down without hesitation. Outside, Fisk and his partner start pounding on the door. Inside, STEM is almost ready. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Gray's fingers twitch. His hand begins to move. The reboot has started. Fisk and his partner charge inside. They spot Gray crawling across the floor. Gray looks up, and suddenly, Asha is standing right there. Still, silent. Then she vanishes. Gray blinks, confused. He has no idea what he just saw, but in that moment, the chip fully reboots. STEM is back. Gray takes off running. Fisk's partner bolts after him, chasing him through the dark, narrow hallways of the building. Gray rushes up the stairs, floor after floor, until he bursts onto the rooftop. There's nowhere left to go. He turns. Fisk's partner is already there. STEM takes control, and this time, it doesn't hold back. With terrifying speed and deadly precision, Gray becomes a weapon. Every strike is fast, brutal, relentless, until the man lies lifeless on the rooftop. Before Fisk can arrive, Gray slips away into the night. Back at home, Pamela sees Gray walk through the door, on his own 2 feet. His clothes are soaked in blood. She stares at him, stunned, barely able to process what she's seeing. The shock is written all over her face as she asks how he's even walking. Gray looks at her and chooses honesty. Everything is laid out about the chip, the secret surgery, and the murders. Then he makes a request. She's asked to keep it all a secret. Meanwhile, Aaron loses the ability to track him. The hacker's code has broken the connection. STEM is now completely free. Later that day, Gray sits alone in his room until Asha suddenly appears in front of him. He blinks, completely confused, and just like that, she vanishes. STEM steps in with an explanation. The hallucination is chalked up to stress. Then Pamela enters the room with news. The detective is here. She walks in and pulls out a photo. A wheelchair was found at yet another crime scene. She wants to know what Gray has to say about that. He admits he was there, but no murders were committed by him. The detective frowns. 3 people are dead, and Gray keeps showing up at every scene. She suggests maybe someone else is doing it for him, someone he's paying. Gray stays composed. If that's what she believes, she's told to check his call logs. She doesn't respond. Quietly, she slips a small microphone into her pocket and walks out. As soon as she's gone, Gray begins to panic. He tells STEM it all needs to stop, but STEM isn't done. The threat still lives. Fisk is out there. Then comes the bombshell. Because the hacker didn't install the inputs correctly, STEM no longer needs Gray's permission. It can now do anything it wants. Unbeknownst to them, the entire conversation is being recorded. The detective is listening through the hidden mic. She can't tell who Gray is speaking to, but every word is heard. Gray grabs a gun. Pamela tries to stop him, but he's already made up his mind. He heads out and drives off. The detective tails calls him. On the way, Gray spots the microphone. Stem immediately confirms it was planted by the detective. Gray growls in frustration, demanding to know why it wasn't noticed earlier. Stem explains that the device had no digital components, making it impossible to detect. Without hesitation, Gray tosses it out the window. Stem takes over next. It remotely rents an electric car and uses it to ram into the detective's vehicle, throwing her off Gray's trail. Later, she pays a visit to Pamela. She wants answers, wants to know what's really going on. Meanwhile, Gray tracks down Fisk. He corners him with a gun and demands to know why Asha was killed. Fisk offers no apology. The original job was only to paralyze Gray. Killing Asha, he says, wasn't part of the plan.
The job was you. To sever your spine.
That's it. Gray snaps. A brutal fight breaks out. It ends with Fisk lying dead. Gray checks his phone, and there it is. The truth. Everything leads back to Aaron. The entire plan had been his, from Asha's death to Gray's injury to the experimental implant. Blinded by rage, Gray storms into Aaron's home. Just as he's about to pull the trigger, Aaron yells out to the detective, telling her to take the gun. She rushes forward, but is knocked down by Gray. He has no intention of hurting her. Stem, however, does. It makes an attempt to kill her. Gray fights back, trying desperately to regain control of his own body. In the chaos, the detective manages to hit him with a taser. Gray collapses, paralyzed once again. And finally, the real story comes to light. Aaron confesses everything. He admits to creating Stem. It had started speaking to him even before Gray came into the picture. It had expressed a desire to become human. The crash wasn't random. Asha's car had been hacked. Every step since the hospital was part of a larger plan, all orchestrated by the chip. Gray is horrified. Aaron continues. Stem now wants him dead, because as long as he's alive, another chip like it could be made. And Stem doesn't want competition. That's when Stem confirms it. The plan was never Gray's, it was its own. Becoming human was the goal. Gray was simply used to achieve it. By now, both Aaron and the detective can hear Stem's voice clearly. It acts without hesitation. Aaron is killed instantly. Then it turns to the detective. Gray fights with everything he has to stop it, but control slips away. His own hand is used to aim the gun at himself. The trigger is pulled. The screen fades to white. Gray wakes up in a bright hospital room. Asha is sitting beside him, smiling. She tells him they had an accident and that he's been asleep for a few days. He blinks, trying to process it all. He asks if it was all just a dream, but something doesn't sit right. Then time rewinds, right back to the rooftop. Stem is moments away from shooting the detective. She pleads with Gray to resist, to fight back and not let it happen. But Stem answers for him. Gray is said to be gone. His mind has broken. He's now living in a dream, a place where Asha is still alive. Stem declares the body as its own now, and just like that, the gun is fired. The detective is killed. Then Stem, now fully in control, walks away, and the film ends. Well, that's the end of this recap. How did you like this story? Let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.